All right, so sometime Sunday night, Cal Long announced that he is retiring from the NFL, and it was almost midnight. So I was like, I'll just wait till tomorrow to talk about it. But I still feel the same way after kind of sleeping on it and everything. Somebody in the community commented on the post and said it's bittersweet. I think that's one of the best ways to describe it. You hate to see it end like this. You hate to see a guy go out when it's not on their own terms. And, even though it hurts when you say, man, that person could still play, or that person still has some left in the tank. And it's still better for them to go out on their own terms than being forced out, because at this point, that's what's happening. It's very unlikely the Bears would have brought him back after the amount of money that's been invested into him and the amount of injuries that's perspired over the last few years. And so the level of play just hasn't been where it's been for a long time. And so I think this is the best way, like Cal was talking about, that he's going out as a Bear. And not a lot of people do stay with one team, especially in the NFL. So that is a cool thing to be able to say that you did that with one team, and to want to do it with one team shows a lot about how you felt. But, we're not going to sugarcoat it. We all know that this is because there's no option. It's not like he's leaving out as an all-pro and saying, I'm stepping away from the game. So it is what it is. And it's tough. It's tough, but I think how long, as far as like thinking about it was interesting to think about his time here. It was interesting for me, at least, because Cal Long's one of those players that very much surprised me. Honestly, he's probably one of the most surprising players that I ever saw. When you're talking about the type of prospect he was, you really haven't seen that since, where you got a guy from this up tempo, and we know how Oregon was. Super up tempo spread offense, the most spread offense there ever was in college. And he was, I believe at one point, a former quarterback. I know he was also a baseball player. And then I believe he was a tight end before as well. But either way, he was a converted offensive lineman. He might have just been a tight end. I might be thinking of Lane Johnson, who was a quarterback. But he was a converted offensive lineman who didn't play the position that long. And he played in a system where they never ran power. Everything was zone, like a heavy flow zone. And so he got drafted, and I'm just like, that's the most project of projects. Like, you're talking about a guy who's still learning to be a lineman, and he has like never been in a nasty fight. And to turn out, Cal Long, we know he's been injured, but he's been one of our toughest players in this modern era. And he had a lot of dog in him. And, that's genes as well. We know how his dad and his brother are. So, you got to account for some of that. But he turned it around a lot faster than I ever thought he would. And, he was well respected by the team and other players. Like, he had that dog mentality. And so it was a pleasure having him as a player, but even more as just part of the community. I've ran past Kyle Long a few times when I was doing the draft stuff in Chicago. And he's nice, man. He's just we know he's a gamer. We know he's active on Twitter. We know he can get after people, but he's a nice dude. Like, he's a real chill dude. And so, especially because like the times I usually see players is not at like big events where I'm in their face getting an autograph or something. It's usually behind the scenes, because I'm usually like working something. And so the cool thing is when you see people get away from the fans and they're with their handlers, or they're with the people from the event, and they're still like real cool behind the scenes and like gracious. I remember one time when I was getting ready to leave the draft, he was getting driven on the golf cart towards wherever he was going. And like a fan happened to be on the street. And so they like ran over there, and the dude was going to keep driving, but Kyle Long was like, no, stop. And like, he gave him an autograph. And so I was like, dang, like, you know what I'm saying? You see behind the scenes stuff like that when the cameras ain't around and people still cool. Earl Acker was the same way. Earl Acker was that way with all the celebrities. All the celebrities want to get talk to him too. So all, you know, those people were real cool. Anthony Spice Adams, I met him before he, you know, blew up on the internet. So like, you know, a lot of these guys is cool, and that's always nice when we have those type of Chicago Bears, man. So as far as a locker room guy, as far as just, you know, a good dude, we definitely gonna miss him. But you know, the facts are the facts on the field. We knew last year, we knew this year, of course, that at that right guard spot, you know, it's just open going forward. And we know it's going to be a big pivotal spot, as well as we got to figure out what we want to be as a line. And then from there, we got to figure out how we're going to get there. Because I said for a long time that Kyle Long is really our only power guy. And I've been saying it. And, you know, people just look at you like, what are you talking about? Especially when Jordan Howard was getting yards. And that's why I keep talking, like, we had some different combinations, of course, throughout Jordan Howard's career. But, you know, that last part, especially last year, I'm like, it's mostly these guys. And I'm like, so you got to understand that for a while, we have not had power on this offensive line. I mean, guys whose forte is moving people off the ball. And so I think the closest you got outside of Kyle Long is Massey. And Massey's a big, powerful dude. Like, no matter what you think about him as a pass blocker, he's a big, powerful dude. The problem with Massey is that he's at a tackle and he plays out in space, and he does not have the coordination athleticism for it. He's the type of guy that would get moved into guard and be a lot better, which is why my plea has always been, let's get a better left tackle so that Leno could be right tackle and then Massey could be right guard. That's kind of what would be my first thought process, because like, it's not super realistic getting a whole new line. Even if you did, it wouldn't be good, you know, for a while till they gel together. But that would be my plea, because again, Massey's the closest you got, but when he's in space, it's harder for him. And so there's that. But also, as I mentioned, the other guys just aren't built for power. We have been built for power for a while. And Kyle Long was one of the few guys that could do that. And then, of course, he lacked a little bit of mobility and whatnot as he continued to rack up injuries. So there was that. And the rest of the guys are all mobile guys. Everything about them is about lateral quickness. And so we do got a big spot to fill on the roster. We know that. But it's going to be a spot in the locker room that probably won't ever get replaced like Kyle Long. I don't think you'll see a guy like that. But pedigree matters sometimes. You know, having a really good football family does matter in that way as well. So it's bittersweet, as mentioned earlier, to see Kyle go. I'm sure he'll still support us from afar and everything, but I'm sure he'll make his way back to where his family is. Yeah, it's kind of sad, man. It's kind of sad to see it in this way, but it's not like he's listening. But I just would personally like thank Kyle Long for, you know, all the stuff he did as a Bear. And he's gonna retire as a Bear, and hopefully we'll do something to have him cheer for pretty soon. So anyway, that's it from me. Go to the comment section. Let me know what you think about the retirement. Share it around. Get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe. Remember, stay up and bear down.